So today I was out walking the dogs, getting a little exercise, and I thought I'd make another video talking about the situation in Israel in the Middle East, because a lot of people missed the main point of the last video I made, and that's the difference between an Islamic army and a secular Arab army. And if we look at Casey Neistat, today he put out a video talking about what happened in Israel, anti-Semitism, and he titled it Jew. And I think the problem is he missed the main point of what happened. And that is, you're dealing with an Islamic army under Islamic law and Islamic rules. And it doesn't matter if the enemy is Jewish, Christian, secular, European, Asian, they don't care. They're going to act and handle the enemy the exact same way. And this was pretty obvious, because if you look at the ancient Islamic wars in Africa, a lot of the African slave trade came through that, was promoted through that, and people miss sight of that history. The other history they lose sight of is the fact that the Age of Enlightenment, where supposedly Islam saved all of the knowledge of the Greeks and the Romans, that was actually an era of massive military conquest where they wiped out massive amounts of Christians, Jews, and other ethnic groups. So when we talk about a war in the Middle East, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or Christian. The rules of Islamic warfare apply to all. They even apply to other Islamic groups and armies that don't agree with what they're doing. And if we have a universal jihad, which may come as early as Friday, then the rules become even stricter, and it relaxes almost all prohibitions against the enemy. So that gives them the freedom to do anything to further their aims. Now, you really need to sit down and think, because I keep telling you, this army has been dispersed and spread all over the planet. That started with the PLO in the 1970s and 80s when they were kicked out of Lebanon originally. And they set up networks all over the world, and they used small businesses and large businesses in order to set up supply networks to move people, material, money, funding. And if you go back and watch that video that I did, it's actually pretty clear what I said in there. And as we move forward and this grows, it's going to become obvious that you are fighting an Islamic army. Now, from a strategic and tactical standpoint, I'm going to say in ancient times, in that area, opposing armies would usually slaughter all the inhabitants of a town they took over. And thankfully, everybody except for a few have moved away from that philosophy. So one of the tactics of an Islamic army is to get their opponent to overreact and commit genocide against populations of Muslims. And what that does is furthers their recruiting aims and helps to gin up a worldwide jihadic movement that moves to a unified caliphate. So you may in the future see claims of worldwide jihad movement toward caliphate. And with the political events on Friday, you may actually see that happen. Now, from a tactical and strategic side, the actual invasion of Gaza, especially Gaza City, is a very big tactical and strategic mistake, because you have three unified armies that's facing Israel right now, one in Gaza, one in the West Bank, and one in Lebanon. And then you add to that the Egyptian army and the Syrian and Iraqi army and the Taliban from the other side. That gives you 6 to 8 armies that are opposing them. Now, the best policy would be to split Gaza, surround and put Gaza City under siege, put a cordon at Rafah to separate that, and occupy the area in between. And what you would do is you would put Gaza City under a siege for however long it takes for them to go into starvation mode. And you can allow anybody to surrender that wants to surrender, but what you would do is sort them based on whether they're civilians or combatants and handle it accordingly from there. But by not invading Gaza City, you don't destroy half of your army. And if you have the cordon set up in between Rafah and Gaza City, that allows you to cut the coast off for resupply to Gaza, and at the same time that gives you a buffer in case the Egyptian army comes across the border. That way you have a picket line and you can withdraw your forces from around Gaza to defend southern Israel. So just a few thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.